All right, guys, got another long form video for you today. I love doing these now. I'll be doing one a week and maybe start doing two a week. But also I'm going to tackle notes, accords, styles, perfumers, try and gather at least, a big chunk of fragrances and talk to you about them throughout the channel, throughout the coming months. But today I'm talking about NISHANE. I've got probably around 45 bottles of NISHANE fragrances here. Not everything, but a lot of everything. And you're going to find out about all of the fragrances that I have here from the house of NISHANE coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian talking to you about NISHANE today. Is this a favorite brand of yours? And if you like this brand or love this brand, what do you like about it or what do you love about it? If you don't like this brand, what do you hate about it? Add a comment below. I discovered the brand in 2016 or 2015. I did a video from samples with a friend I used to shoot videos with who I've completely lost touch with, kind of fell off the face of the earth. But we did a video and then I started discovering the brand, met the brand at Aix-en-Provence. I started going to Aix-en-Provence right after doing that video. And I've been a fan of the brand, throughout the years. I enjoy some fragrances over others. One that I don't understand why I don't like it, and a lot of you don't like it, and don't understand why I don't like it either. I still have not embraced NEFS. So NEFS is kind of a challenge, not challenging, it's just something I don't click with. And I don't know why, and I enjoy Chris Maurice's fragrances as well. So I'm going to do my best to tell you who the perfumers are, who the perfumers might be. I don't know all of them. And NISHANE started out doing fragrances with lesser known perfumers. And then they graduated towards working with better known or well-known fragrance perfumers. In fact, their latter part of the fragrances, like at the end of the list or the video today, you're going to see some well-known perfumers come up. But some of the earlier ones I don't personally know, so I'm sorry, but I'm going to do my best to guess. But they're smaller perfumers, not very well known. And but there's some great fragrances here. In fact, I should let you know one of my all-time favorites from the house, which I just did a short for, is AMBRA CALABRIA. I love this scent. I'll get to it and let you know more about it, but that is such a great fragrance. It's an amber with an overdose of fresh citrusy and bitter greenness. It's such a unique fragrance, such a love for me. I absolutely adore that fragrance. I would say that's my number one fragrance, but there's a ton of great stuff here. I've got the fragrances listed. I'm going to make sure I follow the dates. And some fragrances I listed, and I thought I had the fragrances, but I do not, so I crossed them out. But I didn't list everything here, so if you don't hear me read a fragrance, which means I don't have it, and I knew I didn't have it. And before I get to the fragrances, if you haven't gotten your latest kit, we have dropped kit number 15. It's right here. It's number 15. It's a 3-year anniversary, and I've got 3 great fragrances in the kit. Blue Whiskey on the Rock by the House of Prode. We've got Taipei from the House of One Day. And we have Filthy Musk from the House of Born to Stand Out. 3 awesome fragrances you guys got to check out. This kit is actually a bit unusual, especially since One Day's Taipei is a savory gourmand. And of course, the Filthy Musk is an animalic, sweet, fruity, boozy musk. And we've got, I would say it's boozy, but it's not boozy like the first fragrance. The first fragrance is a really boozy, sweet, spicy, aromatic, amber, woody fragrance. Really great kit. Really awesome fragrances. Here's a photo of the fragrances. And yeah, this is in the store right now. Head over to check it out. I think if you like unusual fragrances, this kit should satisfy because number 2, the One Day Taipei, is so unique. Not a gourmand like you're used to. Not sticky, not syrupy, not cakey, not vanillic. It's savory. So it's salty and not sweet, like a sugary. One last thing before I get to the fragrances. There's some weird noise in the background. I don't know what it is, but lately I'm noticing that there's a noise and never had noise here. Some wind or some airplanes flying by. I don't know. So if you hear that, I'm not making it on purpose. So we're starting off with the list here. The first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Sultan Vetiver from the house of NISHANE, of course. We're doing a video on NISHANE fragrances today. This wasn't a fragrance I started wearing early on, although I believe I spoke about this in that video with all the samples that we did. And the woman I did it with in the video is Kara. So this is a very rooty, earthy vetiver. I feel like there's a musty feel about it, almost the idea of mold in a bit, because there's a humidity about this, and I feel like it's very earthy and like the roots of the plant, and they've captured it here with that kind of muskiness. But behind the scenes, there's a bit of a slight menthol kind of eucalyptus-y kind of an effect happening, but it's so potent and intense. This is like paying tribute to the root deep down in the earth. Very masculine offering here. It is a unisex targeted offering, and I got into it with somebody that made a comment the other day. Oh, well, a fragrance can't be masculine if it's unisex targeted. This is a unisex targeted offering, man. This is totally masculine. So I guess this person didn't like the fact that a masculine fragrance, a unisex fragrance, cannot be masculine. Unisex fragrances can be both masculine and feminine. But the only reason we have fragrances targeted to men or the ladies is because usually the brands use a spokesmodel, and it could only be either a man or a woman. So remember when CK1 was launched, they used the models, both men and women. Those ads were very popular, but generally, because it's one gender, then they target it to a specific gender. And, they use, very, feminine leaning notes for women's fragrances and masculine leaning notes for men's fragrances. And I find Sultan Vetiver to be super, super masculine, super masculine. Again, we're going deep into the earth, very rooty take on a vetiver. It's quite good. It's so overwhelming and potent as well. So the next fragrance I have as a backup, I bought from a store that was not a perfume shop locally, but a store that sold it. And they were clearing it up because they got rid of a lot of their stuff and they were stopping selling perfumes. Actually, they're out of business now. And I've got the price tag on it. But this was like, 50% off? But the fragrance is discontinued now, and I'm glad to have a backup of it or a bottle of it. This is a gourmand fragrance. It's called Passion Choco. You guys familiar with this one? This was one of the earlier launches. The fragrances that I'm talking about first are from 2015. So Passion Choco. I've not sprayed this one. It's been a while. Wow. It's a fruity chocolate fragrance. And also, it reminds me a little bit of Gourmand Coquin, which is now called Fève Gourmand from the house of Guerlain. It's quite yummy. I don't know if that was the inspiration. And I find it to be a bit more intense than Gourmand Coquin, which is now Fève Gourmand. I've always complained about those two fragrances. They have a weakness about them. They're kind of faint. They're kind of subdued and shy. Here, it's a bit more potent. I wouldn't call this one of the most potent from NISHANE, but it gives me that vibe. It gives me a total Gourmand Coquin, Fève Gourmand vibe. It's super delicious. I like the whole contrast of the chocolate and the fruits. What I like about that also is it reminds me of a really decadent chocolate you buy from some chocolate shop in a high-end town or city like Paris. There's a ton of those there. And, you come across one and you go in and you smell the chocolates there. The combo of the fruits and sticky caramelly touches and boozy touches. And that's kind of what that reminds me of. So the next one I'm not too familiar with. This is TUBEROZA. TUBEROZA is a tuberose focused fragrance. And I believe this fragrance was also part of my samples collection. This is, to me, kind of reminding me of Freka. There's a bubblegummy effect there, which I kind of get from tuberose in fragrances. There's a vintage vibe about it. And it's so, so prominent here. Let me see if I have... I do have the Tuberoza X, which is recreated by Dominique Ropion. And I don't know who created the OG Tuberoza. I actually quite like that one. Even though I mentioned in some videos I'm not a big fan of tuberose. It's pretty modern, but still reminding me a little bit of Freka. Freka is one of the ultimate in tuberose-focused fragrances. It's very historic, by the house of Robert Piguet. And so it's definitely long-standing. And I think a lot of people that want to create a tuberose-focused fragrance will turn to that fragrance and kind of deconstruct it and then, you know, create their own, which is what I've heard. I know many brands or fragrance launches that have come that have used that fragrance, that have created a tuberose fragrance have been inspired by Robert Piguet's Freka. And also, it's interesting that they had Dominique Ropion recreate this. I know it's a tiny bottle. That's all I have of the Tuberoza X. And that will come towards the end of the video. But I think Dominique Ropion does great work with white flowers. I think it's the right person to give that to recreate that. So next, I'm going to have to open the box. I don't have a... This is one of my all-time favorites from this house. And this is the only thing I have. It was discontinued, like with the Passion Choco. This is Spice Bazaar. Oh man, both of these fragrances, I find Spice Bazaar a little better because the cumin is so in your face. But Passion Choco is good too. But Spice Bazaar, man, I love it. It's basic. I'm opening it up because I have to. Unfortunately, I can't not to talk to you about it. And I can't find my existing bottle that probably had a tiny amount in there left. But this is a spice market or Spice Bazaar come to life. Like realistically. But the cumin is so strong here, so intense. If you're opposed to cumin, stay away from this one. Although you can't really find it easily. And at one time, I thought these were selling on the NISHANE website and not distributed anymore. I'm not 100% sure if they are. Oh, I love this. It's so good. I wore so much of that because I love the cumin. There's a lot of like zing in there as well. Most likely there's ginger from what I remember, but there's also grapefruit, which is a citrus that has zing to it, a spice to it, a kick. So it really freshens up all of the spices in here. I actually have a full review of this on the channel. Probably shot like 10 years ago almost. Oh man, that's good. That is so good. I can understand it's for an acquired taste. It's an acquired taste. I don't think... Cumin is a very polarizing note. A lot of people consider cumin to be body odor-like. I love cumin in cuisine. And even though I can separate body odor and cumin, I can see why it might come off like body odor to some people. There is that kind of an effect. I have friends that think that. So, but I like to consume it myself and also smell it in fragrances. And there is a connection, but to me, I can totally separate the two and not have it appear that way. But Spice Bazaar was definitely one of my favorites from this house. Absolutely love it. It's sad it's discontinued, but can't really do anything about that because fragrances do get discontinued every once in a while. But next is Wulong Cha. So Wulong Cha does have a, let's see if I can find it. Does have an X version of it. But I like the X versions. I think Wulong Cha OG is quite great. It's such a cozy fragrance. But once again, very fresh and green. Really super awesome fragrance. I do prefer Ambra Calabria just a little more. Well, Ambra Calabria, like I said, is one of my favorite fragrances of this house. But Wulong Cha is great. I find Wulong Cha to be thinner because it's a lot fresher to me. And the fact that Ambra Calabria is amber does have that lingering power. But I'm not dissing Wulong Cha. I think it's a great tea-focused fragrance. All of the fragrances that we've spoken about so far have been extrait de parfum. Oh God, I could smell this. It's so good. It's got a very, yeah, they're all of these have been extrait de parfum concentration, as you can see on the back there. But the bottles also say extrait de parfum. So good, really great. It's green, it's soothing, it's smooth, but also spicy and aromatic and citrusy also. If you like, oh man, this is so good. This is so good. This is like, I started wearing tea-focused fragrances when L'Occitane had all their great tea fragrances. And it takes me back there, even though I think this is a lot more concentrated. But it takes me back to the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, when I started wearing tea-focused fragrances. I wore 3 different ones from that store. L'Occitane, the regular green tea, Thé Vert. Then Thé Vert Mint is also one I wore. And then the Thé Blanc was my favorite. I loved it, Thé Blanc white tea. And Thé Blanc got discontinued so fast from L'Occitane. I don't even know. I haven't been to L'Occitane in ages. I'm on my way to France here in a week and a half to 2 weeks. I'm hoping to stop into L'Occitane and see what's going on fragrance-wise there. Are you a fan of L'Occitane? Let us know. Add a comment below. Next up is Ambra Calabria. Again, this is definitely my favorite fragrance from this house. More than NISHANE's Hacivat, which happens to be probably the fragrance that put this brand on the map. Everybody seems to love it. And yeah, I do get the Aventus vibes, but it's different. It's not, it's a lot screechier for me. There's a sharpness, coldness about it, metallic touches. But we're going back to this one. This Ambra Calabria is the best, guys. It's so good. It's interesting that there's galbanum here, which I absolutely love, but it's not as bitter because there's sweetness under there, but it provides enough greenness, but it doesn't make it bitter at the same time, which is kind of unique that way. There's lots of bergamot, so there's a juicy factor about it as well. And of course, you've got vanilla and amber in the dry down. It is such a unique fragrance. It's an absolute love. I do have a backup bottle of this because it's my favorite. Ah, I love that one. So good. Let me know if you're a fan of Ambra Calabria like I am. I consider it definitely one of the best fragrances ever created. And it's not one of the famous perfumers that we're going to, experience towards the end of this video with all the more recent launches. This is definitely a fragrance that came out in 2015. And it's been around since 10 years. The brand launched around 2013. So, yeah, some of the earlier ones are from 2013. There's TUBEROZA from 2014. We've been in the year 2015 here. Now, the next fragrance, I had to cross it out. I had a bottle, and I wanted a backup bottle of it. I don't have it now. I don't think I can get it. I can't find whatever is remaining in my little bottle anywhere. It's gone missing. So, most likely, I might have tossed it out because it was finished. But the fragrance I'm talking about is Munegu. That's what it's called. Launched in 2015. Munegu, I wore so much of. And it was a patchouli-focused fragrance. And even though they have a fragrance called Patchouli KOZHA, I enjoy Munegu more than Patchouli KOZHA. Because for me, Munegu was like your psychedelic or reminiscence patchouli, like patchouli fragrance, but done in the Nishane way. And I feel like they discontinued it probably because there's other fragrances like it out there. Maybe it wasn't selling. I don't know. But, brands do these kind of decisions because it's more expensive to produce a fragrance than to, produce small quantities of it, which costs a lot more than producing larger quantities. And it makes up in volume kind of a thing. So they got rid of that, including Passion Choco and Spice Bazaar, which is a bummer. I loved Munegu. I wish I can get a bottle of it now, but let's move on to the next fragrance. Next fragrance is Afrika OLIFANT. It's right there. This is a daring animalic fragrance, and I have to say, recently I had a sniff session client here, a consultation client, and it was a celebrity. And I can't say the celebrity name because it's confidential and all that good stuff. But they were into animalic fragrances. So I had to pull out so much animalic fragrances, and also fragrances that were not necessarily animalic, but a bit on the weird side, non-conventional side, left field, oddball kind of fragrances. So I think the next video I do like this is going to go over the fragrances that I had pulled out for that client and talk to you guys a little bit more about the consultations that I do here, sniff sessions. We have access to 6,000 fragrances, and yeah, this client came in and I pulled all the fragrances and we smelled a ton for 2 hours. It was a 2-hour session and we probably went through around 100 fragrances, quite a lot of sniffing and smelling in that amount of time. And this was one of the fragrances, Afrika OLIFANT. It's daring. To me, Afrika OLIFANT has civet. I believe it was in my civet video recently. But also gives me Kouros vibes, but in a more toasted, charred leather direction. So it gives me those Kouros vibes. If you're not familiar with Kouros and you've never sampled these kind of funky fragrances, stay away or work up to it. This is really smoky and charred with that Kouros vibe and the civety kind of animalic muskiness. If you like very dark, smoky leathers with animalic qualities, this to me kind of reminds me also a bit of Antaeus. So it's a little bit of Kouros, a little bit of Antaeus, overdosed with leather. It also gives me a bit of Etat Libre d'Orange, Rien Intense Incense vibes, whereas the Rien Intense Incense has aldehydes, and the Kouros also has aldehydes. It's good. It's not a fragrance I would pull for and wear all the time. For me, my favorite animalic fragrance is Salome by the House of Papillon Perfumery. That I can wear. I love it. This one, the dark smokiness, is a bit of a turnoff. I like smoky fragrances, but I just need it to be balanced with a bit more sweetness. And so that's the deal with that. So the next fragrance I'm talking about is Suede et Safran. So Suede et Safran to me does act a bit like Tuscan leather, ombre leather, with its qualities of saffron and fabric leather type of smell. So yeah, there's a lot of it's called Suede et Safran, and even though they're highlighting suede note, and I get, suede for me is more leaning vanillic gourmand rather than really kind of like animalic leather, which is my experience. But here it's more in that direction of Tuscan leather with slight animalic undertones and saffron overdose. So slight metallic qualities, because saffron does create that. But I wouldn't call this too much of a suede fragrance, unfortunately. It's more about like a leather fragrance that has similarities to Tuscan leather. But this is its own unique thing. I'm not saying it smells like it, but it reminds me of it, if that makes sense. This isn't one of the most popular from this house, I don't think. It's a good one, though. I'm starting to like those Tuscan leather fragrances again. My taste changes and goes up and down and all that good stuff. But let's go to Suede et Safran. Oh, I skipped one. It's Pachuli KOZHA. And I already mentioned this one. This is a patchouli focused fragrance, and I can't remember why I preferred the other one. I did like the other one more because it was more in line with the psychedelic and reminiscence. This one to me is more amber woody. It has a bit more of a Middle Eastern styling to it, like a Middle Eastern oudi kind of fragrance, in addition to the overdose of patchouli and amber. And now that I'm smelling it, I actually quite like that one. I like it more than the Suede et Safran. It's quite cakey, but not so sweet. The patchouli acts cakey, chocolate cakey. It's very dense fragrance. This is super dense, so I like this one actually. It's been a long time since I've worn Munegu, which is discontinued, and it's been a long time since I've worn this one. But it's good. It's a good patchouli, but more amber, very dense, a bit chocolatey, but not a gourmand whatsoever. So that is Patchouli KOZHA. I have to make sure I reverse the order when I air this video for the timestamps. Next, we've got Fan Your Flames. So Fan Your Flames, I should be honest, it's like a chameleon fragrance for me. For the longest time, this smelled of coffee to me. I don't know why, but I feel like the type of sandalwood they're using in this gives me like roasted coffee vibes. Not smoky, just roasted. But it's a sandalwood boozy fragrance, which is kind of a crazy thing. I always got coffee from it. And it gave me Turkish coffee vibes. There's a roasted, toasted kind of coffee effect here, but it's quite boozy. And it's not smooth. And I think it's that sandalwood that's in here. It kind of does remind me a little bit of like a beefed up take on something like Jazz Club. There's coconut in this from what I remember as well. And maybe a unique take on something like, what is the fragrance? Pavillon Rouge from Javoy. But I feel like the sandalwood in here, which is giving me that ground coffee effect, is like sandalwood chips, like dusting of sandalwood. So it's giving me a bit of a dry, dusty grounds kind of an effect. And that's kind of why I'm getting coffee grounds from this. But it's definitely not one of my all-time favorites from the house, Fan Your Flames. Are you familiar with this one? Let me know. That is from the house of NISHANE. Next, it is definitely one of my favorites from this house. It's 100 Silent Ways. Oh man, this is good. And the thing about 100 Silent Ways is it's such a great partner with Hacivat. So there's a lot of smoothness with 100 Silent Ways. It's smooth. It's got, I believe, sandalwood. There's a fruity element here. Like, I think it's peach. And there's creamy floral notes. Gardenia, maybe there's tuberose. So that balances out the screechiness of Hacivat. And the two together make for this most nuclear, explosive combo. The two together, layered together, the way I discovered that combo is by the owners of the brand at a conference, chit-chatting in a kind of a wind tunnel situation outside of the show where the show takes place. And, you know, when you've got both of these sprayed, and they're both extrait de parfum, super strong, and the wind's blowing at you, super intoxicating. The fragrances by themselves, of course, are great. I prefer 100 Silent Ways a bit more than Hacivat. Oh man, this is good. This is super good. It's white flowers, but I think there's vanilla in here also, which I forgot to mention, which is also a great reason why I like this. It gives me a little bit of, in the Middle East, you can get vanilla ice cream with pistachios and orange blossom. Gives me a little bit of that effect. It's creamy, it's milky and floral, because you get the kind of creaminess from white flowers, especially gardenias, magnolias, even tuberose. So good. That 100 Silent Ways is awesome. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. And then now we're going to come to Hacivat. Let me know if you're a fan of Hacivat. Do you get the screechy, woody qualities of it? Do you layer this one with other things? Do you wear it on its own? Is it long-lasting? For a while, people were saying it's been reformulated. It doesn't perform. I don't know. Have you guys ever thought about thinking if the fragrance was just produced and it hasn't sat and maturated yet? Because a lot of people mention when I get the Zara fragrances and they don't last, people mention that. Then they say, well, it hasn't really matured and macerated yet. Has that happened with these fragrances? Because I find these fragrances to be super potent. But most people don't have the time to put the fragrance away. They buy it and put it away and come back 6 months later to wear it so that it could, perform better. But have you noticed it? Have you guys noticed this? Do these fragrances get produced so quickly that it hasn't aged yet? It hasn't sat and, you know, got concentrated. But, you know, it's a great scent. It's pineapple, it's grapefruit, it's patchouli here. There's oak moss. It's a chypre style. It's kind of like a Ventus. It's screechy, woody, metallic, ice cold, perfect for the summertime. And super long lasting, I think. And also during the summer months, it lasts a long time. And again, the two fragrances together, 100 Silent Ways and Hacivat together, is super intoxicating, guys. If you haven't done it, please do it and let me know what you get. The two together is nuclear. So awesome. I absolutely love it. Okay, so we did 100 Silent Ways. We did Hacivat. We come to a fragrance that I'm not a big fan of too much. I don't understand this fragrance, so I'm not going to let you know a lot about it. But this is called KARAGOZ. Do you guys know this one? What do you like about it if you do like this one? So there's a bit of old school vibe in this, yet it's very modern. I get a bit of bubblegum in there. I'm going to wear this one. I'm going to put it on skin. I haven't worn it too much because I've just not really clicked with it. I like the bottle. I like the dark bottle. Also kind of matte finish. Yeah, I don't care for this. It just doesn't really do it for me. Although it doesn't smell bad. We'll have to come back to that. But the next fragrance is COLOGNISE. We're going to the year 2018 now. We were working on the year 2017. 100 Silent Ways was 2016. Hacivat was 2017. We've got COLOGNISE in 2018. So this is the first of 3 of these COLOGNISE fragrances. And it does say Extrait de Cologne. As you can see in the front there, Extrait de Cologne. So it's a cologne extrait. So what does that really translate to? It's, what is it? An eau de toilette, basically. I like the inspiration of these fragrances, but I don't like the fact that they don't put down what it is on the... All 3 of my bottles say the same thing. Well, I have COLOGNISE, Safran COLOGNISE, and I also have Hesperide COLOGNISE, and this is COLOGNISE, but they all say the same thing, so I can't really figure it out, so I had to put the initial down there, just so that I could see which one is which, because they do smell kind of similar. Of course, the saffron is the strongest because it has the saffron note. I like that addition to the, you know, freshness of the cologne. But here, it's super citrusy. It's so invigorating and fresh. Really wonderful. It's juicy. It's effervescent and sparkling. You know, it's got that fizziness. It's uplifting. So uplifting. Somewhat green. Very, very tangy, tart, sweet. But I get a lot of greenness. I like it when juicy, citrusy fragrances do add that greenness layer. And I believe this COLOGNISE has the petitgrain note. The petitgrain note is the leaves of the bitter orange tree. So if you've ever hung around, you know, orange trees, lemon trees, ever picked the leaves, break them in, you know, split them in half, you can see the little oils, you know, spit out of them. That oil is so awesome. I love the smell of it. So I love petitgrain as a note. I've got videos on the channel of petitgrain. If you're curious to learn more about petitgrain, go catch those videos. But I really love when brands use petitgrain in a fragrance. In fact, there's actually fragrances out there focusing on petitgrain. So you've got the leaves, which are the star, the petitgrain note, and they build around that. They add neroli, orange blossom, and the actual citruses like bergamot and orange and lemon and things like that, and probably musks and things like that. Really love the note of petitgrain. I like its greenness, earthiness, its woodiness, citrusy touches, but bitter as well. So next we're going to B612. This is the Fougère barbershop fragrance from the house of NISHANE. Sadly, it's not as beefy as something like Hacivat, even something like, 100 Silent Ways. There's a lightness about this one, but it's a nice done, masculine, classy Fougère. I believe it's Chris Maurice here once again. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it Chris Maurice for B612? I like this one. I love barbershop fragrances. It reminds me of my dad. He wore them. But this is a modern interpretation of fougere. Not like the fougères of the 80s. This is more like the 2000s, 2010s, and things like that. It's a very smooth fougere, but quite elegant. B612. Let me know if you're familiar with that. So we come to another fragrance that is not one of my favorites. I have it. I can talk to you about it a little bit. But once again, I might not know too much about this one because it's not one of my favorites. But I'm going to try and give you as much as I can. But going back to the KARAGOZ. So the KARAGOZ is getting citrusy, but there is that weird kind of Kouros-like old school vibe in there. But once you get past that, it's kind of modern. I feel like I'm getting floral notes in here. I'd have to look it up, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. But this one's Vain and Naive. Vain and Naive also came out in 2018. I believe it's a duo. B612 and Vain and Naive came out together. I think this collection has something to do with the Petite Prince, the Little Prince. You guys familiar with that? So Vain and Naive. Again, I haven't really clicked with this fragrance either. I can't click with everything. This one just doesn't do it for me. There's a waxy, it's fruity, I think, but it's almost like covered up with beeswax, but it's not sweet, just the wax part. It's a bit plasticky. Almost like those candies I used to have when I was very young in grade school. Those like wax lips that you would put in your mouth and you would have these wax lips and then you chew on them and it's all waxy. It gives me that kind of a vibe for some strange reason. I don't know. Not a favorite fragrance of mine. Let me know if Vain and Naive is your favorite fragrance from the house of NISHANE. Add a comment below. And what about KARAGOZ? Are you a fan of KARAGOZ? Add a comment below. So we have next a very popular fragrance for this house. Definitely a top 5. Created by Cecile Zorokian. It's Ani. So Cecile Zorokian has an Armenian last name. I am also Armenian. And NISHANE is a Turkish brand. But it was a great collaboration they did. Really great. They've done 2 fragrances together. I think Ani is the more popular one between Ani and NANSHE. We'll get to NANSHE in a little bit, but I absolutely love Ani. Ani, at one time, I used to think it had similarities to the discontinued Frederick Malle Dries Van Noten. But Dries Van Noten gets very medicinal and sandalwood medicinal and also vanillic. Here, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot of zing and spice here. But there's fresh notes contrasted with warmer notes. There's sandalwood in this. There's, of course, vanilla. There's bergamot here. There's also cardamom and ginger. So that zing and spice. Cardamom has a slight soapy quality. But this is awesome. I wouldn't say it's a gourmand vanilla. It's gourmandesque. But now that I'm smelling it again, it does remind me of Dries Van Noten, but whereas Dries Van Noten is a bit more simplistic wearing, it's mostly about the vanilla and the medicinal sandalwood. Here I can smell other things as well. This is really good. I love the combination of ginger and cardamom together. So there's a slight soapiness, there's a greenness with the bergamot, and that zing coming from the ginger. Yum. So good. So good. This is definitely a top 5 NISHANE. Let me know if you agree. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Who knows? The next one is SAFRAN COLOGNISE. See? That's SAFRAN COLOGNISE. Let me pull out the actual COLOGNISE. How do you tell the difference? On the bottom, they also say nothing. Just... Now I forgot which one is which. Shit. Excuse my language. This is SAFRAN COLOGNISE. All right. So it's saffron added to a cologne-style fragrance. And saffron, what does that do? It's a metallic note, but it also gives you a leather effect. So it's interesting if you've ever gone to Dubai or any place that has a saffron store. I went and bought saffron in Dubai, and you walk into this store, which is a retailer of saffron. It smells like leather in there. But the more fabric-y kind, like it's almost like fabric leather. It's a bit cloth-like, but from a manufacturing plant, so it hasn't really left the manufacturing plant yet. So it has that kind of a fresh fabric, clothing, leather kind of an effect, which is here, which is what you get. It's a lot of saffron. It's a bit leathery. It's a bit metallic, but it's all that COLOGNISE freshness, the neroli orange blossom kind of notes, the citrusy juiciness, and the green petitgrain-like notes. It's actually quite good. If you like your fresh fragrances to have a bit of substance, that's definitely one for you to try. I did mention at the beginning of the video, I did not write down every single fragrance. I wrote down just what I had, and then I went back and noticed that 3 fragrances I didn't have. So this next one came and went really fast. So it came out with this, and then also there was a musk that came out. This is called FLORANE. You guys familiar with this one? I don't know what happened with this collection. I actually preferred the musk a little more than the FLORANE. It's quite musky here anyway, but it's a floral take on musk. But this collection got discontinued quite fast. This came out in 2019, and you know what happened a year later? COVID came on the scene, and I think this collection just wasn't going anywhere. It smells clean and white and pure and musky and a bit creamy from white flowers. And it does say demi-extrait. Any of you have gotten... Oops, the coloring changed. Any of you have gotten your nose on this collection? There's the musk, the OG musk in this collection. There was 2, I think. Maybe there was 3. I can't remember now. I've only really experienced the FLORANE, but the musk I smelled early on and I loved, but obviously I don't have it. I would think that's kind of a very fresh fragrance. There's a laundry effect in there, so it's got a clean vibe. And the next fragrance is the one that is, for me, a bit polarizing. I'm not the biggest fan of this, but many of you really love it. It doesn't click with me. This is NEFS. This is a Chris Maurice creation, and I believe this one and B612 are the 2 fragrances that he created for this house. There might be one more, but I think this is it. So this is, what I get with this one is citronella. But there's a lot of fans of this one. I love the bottle though. Look at this bottle, it's gorgeous. They did a really great job on this bottle. There's 3 or 4 like this. Let's see, 3, 4. There's the janitorial that's going around and taking trash, so there might be some noises in the background. I'm shooting this kind of late in the day. I just don't click with this fragrance. It totally smells like citronella. It reminds me of sitting in my mom's house when it's like summer and 110 degrees, and you've got that citronella smell coming around. It's kind of hot and humid. And I mean, it's woods and oud and things like that, but just I'm not excited about this fragrance whatsoever. It just doesn't move me. If you're a fan of NEFS, let me know. Put a comment down below. Okay, next, the 2 fragrances that were launched at the height of the pandemic in 2020. 2 fragrances. They launched NANSHE, Cecile Zarokian once again, and Ege. My bottle cracked and I had to put a tape on it. I just didn't want to touch the corner here and cut my finger. I don't know why that happened. Okay, so NANSHE I enjoyed during the review process of these 2 fragrances, but in the end, I didn't really like Ege at first, but now it's the other way around. I really love Ege, but for some strange reason when I reviewed it, it was so marine and aquatic, but I just didn't dig for it. But I've gotten used to it, and I really love that fragrance now, and it's just a surprise that I hated it. But NANSHE is a very powdery fragrance. It's like, I don't know if the term is boudoir, ladies' boudoir kind of powdery kind of things, with rose and patchouli also. So it's really, really intense with the powdery qualities. I don't hate this because I love the patchouli in this, but there's like a makeup powder kind of a vibe with this, with a lot of rose. So there might even be iris here. I think there's powdery notes. There might be violet. So there's definitely a very, very powdery, makeup-y kind of thing happening. Well, you know how the women put their powders all over their faces and things like that. I don't think it's a bad fragrance because I love the dry down of that. The patchouli dries down really awesome. But between the two, I ended up really, really loving Ege. And it started out hating it. So this is there is definitely an ice cold vibe with this. It's ozonic. And I think there's violet leaves, or it's considered ozonic notes. There's mint here, I think, also. It's a Greek perfumer. It's Elias Hermenides. As you can see right there. Sorry, my bottle is a bit messed up. There's mint, for sure. It's watery, it's crisp, it's fresh. It's herbal. It's aquatic. I don't know what happened or what. I think inside this fragrance, there might be some molecules or synthetic notes that at first I picked up was really off-putting. Gave me that whole marine thing. And now I really enjoy it and I've gotten my nose used to it. That's kind of sometimes what happens with some fragrances. Sometimes, you know, smells in the world I'm fine with, but something new, a molecule that's used in fragrances to create some kind of an effect, it's challenging. You know, it happens with some fragrances. Also, some fragrance notes like Molecule 1's ISOE Super, I couldn't smell for a long time. Javanol, Molecule 4's Javanol, same thing. Those are super strong on me now. So there's strange effects that happen, and I think that's the reaction I had with Ege. And I didn't really like it at first, but I got used to it. I could smell that note, really enjoy it and appreciate it. I think that's definitely very solid. It does have a bit of a salad vibe because there's a bit of a cucumbery effect happening in Ege, but it's super awesome if you haven't tried it. So let's move on to FAVONIUS. FAVONIUS with the Harrods exclusivity. You guys familiar with this one? I think this is a Christian Provenzano fragrance. I could be wrong though, I'm sorry. It's not, I'm not remembering the perfumers, and it's not like Frederick Malle where they write the name of the perfumers. So this is a kind of a rose thing, spicy rose. It kind of does remind me of Christian Provenzano's creations. I'm not 100% sure. There's oudi touches here. It's quite spicy and dry, not syrupy and ambery whatsoever. I feel like there's something cumin-like in here, but not real cumin. Like there's got to be a little bit of a cuminy spice or something, maybe caraway seeds. It's not one of my all-time favorite fragrances from the house. I wouldn't consider this a top 5 or a top 10, unfortunately. But Ege, I would. Ege is so good. It's so weird how I hated that fragrance at first, and then I really love it now. It happens. It really does happen. Some fragrances you react so positively to right off the bat. Some take some time and just go along with that because it happens to me and it happens to everybody. And I think when you're just jumping from, you know, mostly designer fragrances at the department stores into niche, some niche fragrances now are very designer-like, so you won't have any problems. But when you are doing a bit more adventurous fragrances like I did with the client that came in for the sniff session, those would require some special attention, special time to get used to. And if you go from something very mass market, easy to wear fragrance into something like Mus Kubla Khan or Salome, you're going to be really triggered and put off by the way those fragrances smell. All right, so the next fragrance is TERO. This is correct. No, it's wait, no. This is SHEM, sorry. SHEM. I think this is SHEM. I made sure. SHEM and Mana. Yeah. SHEM is the green bottle and Mana is the blue bottle. As you can see right there. And, oops. It's the green bottle. I don't know why that's not attaching. But I think the sprayer's, whatchamacallit, is stuck inside the cap. I don't want to dig my fingers in there right now. All right, let's spray this one. I'm not too familiar with these fragrances with these beautiful casings. For some reason, I'm getting papyrus or cypriol here, quite a bit of. Very spicy, woody fragrance. Slightly smoky, a bit oudy. Not my all-time favorite fragrance. It leans one-sided too much. That's my Libra side. And then we've got Mana. The Mana bottle is so gorgeous. The color, I should say. The bottles are the same, obviously. So once again, I don't know this one that well either. Let me know if you're a fan of these fragrances. The one I'm familiar with is NEFS, and I'm not a fan of NEFS. Sorry, I'm running out of... Okay, I like Mana a lot more, but Mana does remind me of like your typical Middle Eastern oud rose combo thing. This is a lot of oud and there's spice in here. This one's actually quite good. I remember I didn't really care for SHEM too much, but this one's really good. It's quite spicy. This might be Christian Provenzano. It reminds me of his work a little bit. Again, I apologize. I don't remember the perfumer's name, but it's easy to look them up in the databases. But this one, Mana, is so good. I would actually wear that one. It's got a very Middle Eastern, oudy, spicy rose kind of vibe. But now we're moving into the year 2022 when things were opening up again during the pandemic. And when I went back to Aix-en-Provence for the first time, it took place in June of 2022, 3 years ago. The brand NISHANE launched 4 fragrances by 4 different perfumers. So TERO is this. We had fragrances by Filippo, Dominique Ropillon, Carlos Benayem, and Jean-Louis Suizac. I'll remember who this one is when I smell it. This TERO, I believe, is Carlos Benayem. This is kind of woody, salty, caramelly. I like this one. So TEMPFLUO was my favorite from the collection, and it kind of reminds me of Filippo. This is Filippo, kind of like a remix take on something like Synthetic Jungle. Maybe. Not so green. TEMPFLUO. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. This could also be something a bit like Rain de Saba's Rain Makeda. I think this is a bit more closer to that fragrance because she created that as well. This is not so much like Synthetic Jungle, but probably the floral notes that are in TEMPFLUO are similar to the floral notes in Synthetic Jungle, Synthetic Nature. But this is not green whatsoever. It's a bit more bubblegummy. But I think there's musky notes in this as well. I feel like I've gotten compliments with this one when I wore it. And people seem to like the way the fragrance projects off of me. So TEMPFLUO, I think the collection is pretty solid. It's just not very like wow to me. But I felt like TEMPFLUO was my favorite of the bunch. And then when I started getting compliments, it became even a further favorite of this collection, I should say. But yeah, let me know if you're a fan of TEMPFLUO. It's an Filippo creation. TEMPFLUO, Filippo. This next one is PAPILEFIKO. This is the Dominique Ropillon collection. When I first started testing these out, I felt like this was a really mass market. But I think this was the most popular in this collection, in this series. And it has grown on me even further. I feel like it's a great scent, but it's not very challenging or very original. I feel like it's been done, but done in a nice way. And this one also garners compliments. It's a bit amber, woody, and spicy. And also there's a muskiness. This isn't like the Tuberose, because he's also done, Dominique Ropillon has also done Tuberoza X. And he also did Hacivat Oud, which I think is really great, by the way. But, you know, I've gotten used to PAPILEFIKO and I like it. I think I wouldn't want to use, I guess I could use it. It's like a dumb reach. It's not like so challenging. You have to think about it. It smells great. It's pleasant smelling. You get compliments from it. That's the kind of fragrance that you want to pull for and wear. It's kind of woody and spicy as well. I like it. I've grown to enjoy that one. And then the last one is Credo. So Credo... Yeah, Credo is Jean-Louis Suizac, and then TERO was Carlos Bonayem. Those are the two I always get mixed up for some strange reason, because the words are a bit similar, in the same number of letters, kind of similar. But Credo to me is a great oud-y fragrance, like a westernized oud, and giving me a bit of oud wood kind of vibe from Tom Ford, but much stronger, but sexy as well. I think the collection is solid. Nothing too overly original, but really great work from well-known perfumers. Jean-Louis Suizac has been around for a long time. IFF, all four of the perfumers are IFF perfumers, International Flavors and Fragrances. They did good. They didn't give us anything over the top amazing, but they gave us good quality fragrances. And even though I hated PAPILEFIKO first, I didn't really like it. I shouldn't say I hated it. I've grown to enjoy it. And I think it's a great sort of dumb reach fragrance when you're not thinking about what you're going to wear and think about who's going to be there. You spritz on that fragrance and, you know, go out for your day. It's a bit woody, spicy, amber woody and things like that. So it's a pretty solid collection. Those came out in 2022 when the world kind of sort of went back. And then the following year, the brand launched, or NISHANE launched, Hesperide Colognise. So I can't really say which of these Colognise fragrances I like the most. I don't know. This one is more similar to the original Colognise compared to the Safran Colognise. Safran Colognise is, of course, lots of saffron, which changes the smell of the fragrance, makes it, or changes the style, because you're throwing in saffron. It goes overly spicy, and it goes a bit leathery metallic. But Hesperide Colognise and also the OG Colognise are sort of similar, but they don't smell alike. Hesperide Colognise, I feel like there's watery notes in there and also white floral notes. But in the end, it's quite citrusy. There's a lot of citruses here, by the way. But there's a clean muskiness about it. Almost like laundry. Like clean laundry. Perhaps you've used some kind of a citrusy detergent. Different, but similar idea. Just really fresh. Again, it's once again similar kind of bottle. You don't know. I think the juice color is lighter than the other two, so it makes sense. This one is H. I put H on the bottom there just so I know it's Hesperide Colognise. But it doesn't really say on the bottom what the name is, unless you could see it, and I can't see it with my eyes. But that's Hesperide Colognise. It's extrait de cologne, so it's that strange concentration. I guess it's kind of more concentrated than a cologne, but I wouldn't say this is extrait like their other fragrances, they're extrait de parfums. So I would say these are more like eau de toilette. But, you know, both of these, all three of them are good, actually. I really like the Colognise series. They're simplistic, easy to wear. The one you have to think about is the Safran Colognise because it's got that saffron leatheriness. But once you get past that, it's a great freshie for the summertime. Perfect for the hottest, humid days when you're needing to be refreshed with a lot of juicy, citrusy, floral, green kind of touches. Remember, Hesperide Colognise is a bit more musky, and I think I get white flowers in there. But once again, it's super citrusy, though. A lot of citruses, and I get that laundry effect, and I think it's the muskiness and maybe the white floral touches that's giving me that. The OG COLOGNISE is super citrusy, like over the top, juicy, citrusy, and a lot of citrus flowers as well. And then, of course, the SAFRAN COLOGNISE has got the saffron, which eventually becomes, leathery and things like that. So next in 2023, also they launched Hacivat Oud. I guess in 2023 they launched the X fragrances, and Hacivat. This is Hacivat Oud. They also have Hacivat X. I was getting confused there for a minute. And they've got Ani X, Fan Your Flames X, 100 Silent Ways X, Wulong Cha X. So they did a lot of X fragrances, and they used, I believe, IFF perfumers once again. And they used Cecile Zarokian, which is an independent perfumer. She does her own thing. She doesn't work for a firm. She's an independent perfumer. And so they used her for Ani, and the rest of the fragrances were created by IFF perfumers. And Julien Rascanet did 2. Dominique Ropion did 2 or 3. There's a lot of them. I can't remember exactly which ones did which. But this is Hacivat Oud. I really love this bottle. It's gorgeous. It stands out in the white. Oh my God, that bottle is gorgeous. And this is Hacivat Oud is reminding me of Hacivat with the addition of the oud. So it has that funk under there, but it's not necessarily, I would say it's animalic. It's just got that kind of slight westernized funk of an oudy woody kind of a, note in there. But in the end, it's just a lot denser, and I think it makes the fragrance a bit smoother and not so screechy like the OG is. The OG is so metallic, sharp, cold. Even though this is cold because it's got the OG DNA, I think this is a bit more smoother. There's funk there for sure. There's funk, but I wouldn't call this an uber animalic fragrance. It smells great, by the way. I really like it. That is Hacivat Oud. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Next, we have Ani X. Again, this is Cecile Zarokian. This is the Ani X. This is the OG Ani. I feel like what she did with the Ani X. So these are flankers, obviously. And I've got a video, well, maybe it already aired, a video on flankers that I want of existing fragrances that have not been done. If you haven't caught that and it's aired, please go catch it. So these to me are like remixes. The X is there. I think it's for 10 years. That's why these came out. I think they came out in 23 and the brand started in 2013. So it's a 10-year anniversary. And they used their most popular fragrances and created, remixes or flankers of them. What Cecile Zarokian did with Ani X is freshened it up with more citruses up top. So it's not necessarily like Ambra Calabria where you can wear it in the summertime. And I think also Ambra Calabria, I can wear it. I have no problem wearing any of these in the summertime. Some people might still have problems with Ambra Calabria to wear in the summertime because it does get sweet. And again, this one to me is fresher. It's a bit more lemonier. But the DNA is there. This to me smells a bit like Unknown Pleasures from the House of Kerosene, a little bit. But a lot more concentrated. It's super delicious. Both of them are really great. Depends on what kind of style you want. You want a little bit lemon, juicy citrus. Go with the Ani X. Less citruses. Go with the OG Ani. But the DNA is awesome. Cecile did a great job on this. It's definitely one of my favorite fragrances of Cecile Zarokian. I absolutely love that. So the next one, I don't know who the perfumer is. And I think it's not one of the more famous ones. This is Fan Your Flames X. And once again, this is not one of my favorite fragrances from this house. Fan Your Flames DNA is not one of my favorites. And it's been a while since I put my nose on Fan Your Flames X. I think this one's also a bit fresher than the OG. That kind of coffee grounds or shavings of wood, sandalwood, is a bit less here than it is in the OG Fan Your Flames. Seems a bit fresher here. I feel like this is a bit better than the OG now that I've smelled them pretty close to one another. I'd like to test out Fan Your Flames X a little bit more. But since Fan Your Flames is not one of my favorite DNAs from the house, I've kind of left it behind and not really sought after it to keep wearing it and things like that. But let me know if you're a fan of Fan Your Flames. Do you enjoy Fan Your Flames? Do you enjoy Fan Your Flames X? Add a comment below and let me know which fragrances so far are your favorites from the ones that I spoke about. And of course, if I've missed any of them because I don't have everything here, let me know what they are. Because I remember also when the brand launched, there was a rose fragrance that they had in the collection. They discontinued that fragrance like pretty early on. And even though I smelled it in sample form, I never got to wear it. And it's been gone. And I haven't seen them launch another rose fragrance. Unless, you know, we had a few here with rose featured in it, but it wasn't strictly rose focused. So let's move on next to, where is it? We did Fan Your Flames X. Next, we're going to do Hacivat X. So Hacivat X, is this Julian Rasconnais? I'm forgetting. I think Hacivat X is also smoothed over in comparison to the OG Hacivat. Is there like white floral notes in here to give it a bit more creaminess? Because it's gotten a creamy effect happening. Not necessarily that kind of screechy metallic coldness that I get from the original. But to me, it's kind of similar to the original. So since I haven't really gotten used to this one, I kind of prefer the OG. But I think in comparison to, it's not bad. It's not bad. But I think I prefer the Hacivat Oud a lot more than Hacivat X. But again, it's a matter of taste. You might sample all three of the fragrances side by side and walk out with Hacivat X versus Hacivat or Hacivat Oud. It's got the DNA, but there's something different about it that makes it less screechy metallic, if that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense to you guys. So we did that. Next we have 100 Silent Ways X. I think Cecile Zorokian only did Ani X, correct? Not any other ones. I don't know who the perfumer of this one is, sadly. This one's not one of my favorites. Well, the Initial Blast is not one of my favorites. I much prefer the OG 100 Silent Ways. And again, I love layering it with Hacivat, the OG Hacivat. I think this grows on you. Initial Blast, not so exciting. And then the DNA of the OG kind of starts appearing. So it becomes like, what reminds you of the OG. I haven't layered this one in Hacivat X. I got to try that. But this once again seems like it's smoothed over. You know, the vanillic notes are there. The gardenia notes are there. But still, I prefer the OG 100 Silent Ways a lot more. And that combo of the OG 100 Silent Ways with Hacivat is so super intoxicating. I've got to try these two fragrances together. 100 Silent Ways and Hacivat X. 100 Silent Ways X and Hacivat X. And see what it's all about. And I think this next one is also a Julian Rasconnais creation. I did enjoy this one. I wore a bit of it. Wulong Cha X. So the original was not Julian Rasconnais. The original was created by lesser known perfumers. Here, it's once again very green tea, but I feel like there's a bit of floral creaminess thrown in, giving you a bit of that kind of like having tea with a bit of milk in it, giving you that kind of creamy effect. It's once again super green like the OG Wulong Cha, but this is a lot smoother. I do enjoy this one just like the OG, and this one actually becomes a bit difficult to decide which one is best. Do you like the OG? Do you like the new version? It's a bit spicy, for sure green, but I get that creaminess. And I feel like there's magnolia here, which adds a slight lemony tinge to the fragrance with its kind of creamy floral touches. That one's quite good. I feel like it's also a bit greener than the original. I feel like there's something stems, like green leaves or stems like effect happening here. All right, that's that. Then we have Tuberoza X. I think the Tuberoza X came out in 2024. I don't have much experience with this one. I was looking to see if I had a bottle, but this turned out to be the only thing I had. Even more bubblegummy than the OG Tuberoza. Wow. And this one even reminds me more of Fracka. Wow. So did they go back in time and make it more vintage? So this version, I think it's Dominic Ropion. He did the Tuberoza X. Wow, that is very Fracka-like. Fracka is basically the fragrance from Robert Piguet that I was mentioning earlier. It's the fragrance that a lot of tuberose fragrances kind of get inspired from. I think they look up to it, maybe take down, they deconstruct it and come up with their own fragrances. This is very vintage. The Tuberoza X, to me, I think it's the tuberose note they're using in here. It comes off vintage. Even the OG Tuberoza is vintage. And I mentioned in the Frederick Malle video I did like this. For me, Carnal Flower is one of the most modern smelling tuberose fragrances. This to me smells classic, vintage, and totally because it reminds me of Fracka. But it's also very bubblegummy at the same time. What do you guys think? Do you guys get the bubblegum effect from Tuberoza, Tuberoza X? And sorry, I only have this tiny little bottle, but that'll be enough. I like it. I don't hate it, but it's not like a big love for me. All right, so that's Tuberoza X. That launched in 2024 along with Shinanai. A lot of people say Shinane. It's not Shinane from the Martin Lawrence show. This is Shinanai. So Shinanai is a Turkish word, and this is created by my friend Angelos Creations Olfactives, by the way. Sadly, it's not one of my favorite fragrances of his. It's also very dark. This is Gardenia, and it's also very mushroomy. It's also very green. It's a bit animalic. It's a bit weird. It's almost like you're chopping up the gardenia and tuberose together. And they haven't fully ripened. So you're getting the smell of those two flowers, which I find to be very intoxicating. I prefer gardenias over tuberose, but both of them are very delicious flowers. But there's a mushroomy effect here, earthy, musky, slightly animalic. This to me can come off a bit challenging, I think. Again, it's not one of my favorite fragrances from Angelos Creations Olfactives, but I think it satisfies the folks at NISHANE, and they launched it under the experimental collection. So there's two experimental collection fragrances. I think there's one called Unutamam from Miguel Matos, which obviously I don't have here, and Shinanai from Angelos Creations Olfactives. I've got one more fragrance left. That is Desiro. So this is an Alberto Moria's collection. What am I saying? This is an Alberto Moria's creation. And I think I remember smelling it. It wasn't one of my favorites. It's typical Alberto Moria's. I think it's marine. You know, Alberto Moria's has been around since the late 70s. He's been making fragrances since the late 70s. You know, I take it back. I don't hate this. It seems a bit mass market. It's simple to wear. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's not so marine on the strip. It's not like a wow for me. But I think maybe it'll satisfy some folks. Let me know if you're familiar with Desiro. That's the last fragrance I have from the brand. That was launched last year. I don't know what they're launching this year. I didn't see the brand this year, sadly. Did they launch anything this year? I can't remember. So that's the 2024 fragrances, and I don't have anything in 2025. I'll most likely see them at TFWA in Cannes at the late summer, early fall. And at that time, I'll see what they're launching, if they have launched anything. But that's the list for you guys. That's all I have here from the brand NISHANE. Again, I discovered the brand in 2015 and met the brand in 2016 and have been a fan of the brand since then. But still, to this day, for me, Ambra Calabria is definitely my favorite of the brand. I love it. Followed by Ani. That's number 2. I love Ani. It's super awesome. So number 3 would be 100 Silent Ways. Number 4 would be Hacivat. Number 5 would be, sorry, one of my strips fell, Wulong Cha. Then it's going to get a bit difficult. Ege would be number 6. Then it gets really difficult. Pachuli KOZHA would be number 7. AFRIKA OLIFANT would be number 8. What else? TEMPFLUO would be number 9. Did I skip a number? The rest, I think, is going to be very difficult for me, but those are my top favorite fragrances from this house. I hope you guys took notes. You can always click the timestamps in the info box and check out each of the fragrances again if you like. I'm sorry I don't have the entire collection like I have of Frederic Malle, but this is a pretty big chunk. I think this is like 75% of the brand's fragrances. And of course, some of them were discontinued and some I just do not have. Like one of them happened to be MUSIQA Oud. I did not have that one. Munegu, of course. Zenne, of course. But there was the rose fragrance I mentioned that I did not have, and several others. But let me know which ones of these fragrances are your favorites. Add a comment below. What brand would you like to see me do next? I have a few in mind that I'm going to go ahead and tackle. But let me know other brands that you'd like me to, tackle and speak about on the channel like this in a long form, hardly edited, no special effects, no, titles and photos kind of videos. Just straightforward flow from one to the other, very long form. Let me know what brands you want me to tackle. So far, I've done Guerlain. I've done Frederic Malle. This is NISHANE. I've done also 2 very long form haul videos, similar style, no editing and things like that. But there's other brands out there. I'm thinking Marley. I'm thinking Maison Francis Kurkdjian. I'm thinking Diptyque, Amouage. I'm thinking, who else? I'm looking around. But so ones that have a lot of fragrances. I guess the ones that, maybe Xerjoff even. Maybe Clive Christian, but I don't have a lot of their fragrances. Kilian, I have a lot. Yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are on which brands to do. And also let me know if you want me to do similar videos of perfumers, notes, styles, all of that stuff. Add a comment below so I can find out. And last but not least, before I go, please make sure to get your Scent Club kit, the latest kit. Number 15 is out. Really cool fragrances, a bit on the unusual side, a bit on the animalic side, but awesome fragrances in the latest kit. Anyways, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.